is up, everybody? What an episode of Big Brother. Welcome to the Togethermess Big Brother After Show. That was a crazy episode.
Tonight was Big Brother.
Yeah,
people playing. I hope the lines are drawn now, and then all the fighting. It's so good.
Wait till you see who we have in store for you tonight. We are talking with him right before the episode, and we have so many questions. But just a quick recap, I just want to put down real fast. I know a lot of people have already watched. Thanks for tuning in. Put your questions in right now, all your Big Brother questions. Once you see our guest, you're going to have a lot more questions. But I just want to start by saying, Riley, before we bring our guest in,
I know
you had a minute left in that veto competition. That was worse than the clown shoe. That was worse than the clown shoe eviction.
You think so?
No, I don't. I'm just trying to make my.
No,
I'm trying to make myself feel better.
You know what it's like being on live, and the pressure is on his nerves. You don't know.
But he had a minute left, and he could have.
But he
grabbed the ball.
in.
He locked it in, and he could have grabbed that ball and rolled it again. So I don't know. The camera didn't even see Mickey get that whatever number 36 or whatever she got, and they were at 29, and they both locked in. Oh my God, that's going to haunt them forever. It's been 15 years since the clown shoe, and I still think about it.
It still haunts you. But let's get our guest.
Let's bring him in. No, enough talking with us. Let's bring our guest in here. Where's our mystery guest? Where is he?
What up? What up? What up?
There he is,
Zach!
my man Zach.
Thank you so much for coming on. I know everybody's got a million questions, so get them coming through now. Yeah. Where are we even going to start?
Well, first of all, Zach, I just want to say we were talking a little bit before the episode because we had on make sure technical stuff was all right. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being kind to my boys because they love you. Yeah. And you should hold your head up high because you're a class act, my man, all the way around from beginning to end. And there's a lot more in store for you. I think there's a lot more games, the MTV Challenge. I think a lot of people are going to be calling you. So, man, you're just a class act, and thank you for doing this.
And your family should be so proud.
Yeah. I mean, hey, like friends and family, once I got back, they were appreciative of how I played. They said I should be holding my head high, and thank you guys so much for the kind words. It's been a crazy experience, like you guys, of course, know. So yeah, it's been crazy.
So before we get into this whole thing, Zach, how did you even get on Big Brother? Walk me through that whole process because I'm so curious about the casting process.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can really reveal right now. I will say this though, like I had the opportunity to be on another show, and it ended up falling through at the very, very end. And I don't even think I can reveal which show that was. But it was in March, and then all of a sudden, it's like I get a message and they say, "Hey, Zach, like we know that." You've had some past auditions for other shows. Like I got to the very end for a couple of other ones as well. And they said, we think you could have a really good shot at being on Big Brother. And I'm like, you know what, let's full send this, And so that's how we ended up on the show. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. And it's made me like have great connections and opportunities with other people like you guys. And literally right before I hopped on here, I was on a live stream with Tucker. And we were like live reacting to the show last season. And this episode, I know we're about to talk about it, but insane. I mean, it's my first live reaction, but I'm like, is this what's happening every single week?
So Zach, in the BB Blockbuster, because you just were in the BB Blockbuster, are your nerves going and you're just not really thinking clearly? Because Jeff and I were talking tonight about Riley, and we're like, what are you doing? You have a minute left, what you just said. But I remember being live and I had to roll a ball and I could hear the audience and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And you're freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, my own experience, it was very stressful. It's one of those things where I had to do a puzzle. And I had my first two moves planned out when I started. And then all of a sudden I realized that it wasn't exactly the correct way to go about it. And so especially with these blockbusters, for a fact it's only going to last for 2 or 3 minutes, right? And so it was one of those where I had a freak out moment. And then it's like you start freaking out and shuffling around. And so I think ultimately that's what happened with Riley as well. I mean, like he had an extra minute, like you guys just said. And what's crazy is the cameras didn't even show Mickey. Like I was watching. And I was thinking Morgan had it. And I'm like, she's got it in the bag right now. And all of a sudden they pan to Mickey being all the way down at the end of the board. I mean, that was a crazy blockbuster. I loved it as a fan now, like watching the show. I'm like, that was insane.
So let's go back to when you got evicted. You got evicted 8-2. When did you know that you were actually in trouble? Because obviously, I don't want to keep harping on you didn't use your power. I'm sure you talked about that enough, but you had your reasons. So when did you know that you were in trouble? Because obviously, you thought you were safe at some point.
Look, I did. I thought I was safe all the way up until like Katherine closed the box when I had the opportunity to actually use the power. I thought I was safe all the way up until the morning of the live show. Ashley came to me at the morning and she said, Zach, this is crazy, but I just want to let you know, I don't think you actually have the votes. And like, I'm serious. Big Brother changes on a dime, because when I put my head to sleep the night before, I'm thinking, I revealed my power to Morgan and Mickey. I was like, they've got my back. I feel like Lauren really has my back right now. And then, hindsight's always 2020, right? And so like everything, I'll say this to all the live viewers right now, everything changes on a dime. And so it is what it is. I still feel like, I was trying to keep Morgan safe. I was trying to keep Vince safe. We were in a final 3 together. But hindsight's always 2020, right?
Absolutely. So let's go back to that veto competition. So you thought you were safe during that veto, and you gave Will that trip to London, which was again, a class act. I really did think that was from the heart. I didn't think it was a game move, but it did work well in the game. Was that from the heart? And did you think you were safe at that point?
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought I was safe for sure, but I was thinking, first off, Will deserves this more than anybody else in the house. He deserved that trip. He and I had so many talks while we were in the house together about, he wants to take his chocolate drop on a trip. He wants to go explore the world. And I'm like, hey, I have the perfect opportunity. I said right before that comp, because obviously we don't know what the comp is before going in. I told him, I was like, if it's the rewards and the punishments veto, or the veto comp, I was thinking, yeah, like, I'm going to give you a trip because you deserve it the most. And of course, it was like perfect setting for me to be able to do that. And so 100%, I thought he deserved it the most. And that really did come from my heart. But then also, I gave him the trip, and I'm thinking, you know what? This is also good for my game as well. Because at that point, I had won $10,000. If I had kept the trip, let's be honest, there would have been an even bigger target on my back. And so all of those reasons kind of came together at once. And, but yeah, 100% Will deserve that trip.
Well, dude, that was super nice.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, the partners in crime punishment that you did with Rachel, was that, because I asked Jeff this when we were watching, was that strategy, or were you, because when I saw you had a pick, I was like, he's picking Morgan to do it with him, or Lauren, but then you picked Rachel. Was that strategy?
Look, so we had, I don't know how much I can speak on, but we had a little bit of time to like kind of decide who to choose, or at least I did. And so I was looking at the group. If I'm being honest, I looked first at Riley, because we had talked about doing, if we had a punishment together, we were going to do it together. And he had like these massive wide eyes, like, no, please, for the love of everything, do not pick me. So then I glanced over at Rachel, and she's like, pointing at herself. She's like, Zach, like me, like, let's do this. Was so excited to do it. And I find out later, like we're sitting down and she's like, Zach, I wanted to really have time to get to know you, because I watched that whole punishment back, and it lasted for only 2 to 3 minutes on TV. It was 11 hours. So you're sitting in there doing this punishment together for 11 hours. And, you have a lot of time to talk. I know for a fact on the actual show, they didn't talk about a lot of the stuff that Rachel had talked to me about. But specifically, one of the craziest stories is that it was like 3 a.m. at this point, and I'm laying there like swaddled by a bunch of towels because that goo was freezing. And Rachel tells me about her birth story from beginning to end. So now I am very well versed. If I ever have a kid, I know exactly what to do. And so she killed me though. But like, I want to say this, like Rachel, she's a class act. Like I actually got to know her at that point very, very deep down. And then right before, live the day before, she told me, she pulled me in a room and she's like, I want to work with you. I want to work with Lauren, and I want to work with Ashley. And I'm like, you know what? I'm all for this, because like she was very much so like, I found out who she was deep down, and that made me have so much more respect for her.
Well, we both played with Rachel, so that's kind of what bonds us. We all played with Rachel. Do you think you, as well as the house, it's kind of a 2-part question, underestimate her tactics? Because she's playing deep old school Big Brother.
Yeah.
I don't know why you guys even let her stay in the house. Do you regret any of those moves?
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, before I actually got to know Rachel, she would, if I had ever won HOH, she was going to be my fourth nom. And people were kind of questioning why. But it's like, why would I give somebody that's so iconic in Big Brother and she's already won so much, 2 opportunities to come off the block, right? And so I had told them, I was like, look, I was with Morgan, Mickey, and Vince at that point, and I'm like, if you guys give me the opportunity, I'm going to take that shot 100%. And so if we're talking about like what the house was thinking, I mean, immediately when she came into the house, we're all thinking she's going to be the first to go. But then all of a sudden she has immunity with the have-not situation, right? That week 1. And then let's be honest, like week 2, Jimmy wins HOH. He's very, very close to Rachel. At that point, we had the heavy hitters. And so through that, she's so good and she's so charismatic with everybody. It's like she starts to really build those relationships. And that's why she's in such a great like place in the house, in my opinion. I mean, we just saw what she did with her HOH and she was able to build, I think it's the jury alliance, right? Or the judges. I'm sorry, the judges alliance. And yeah, I just know that Morgan was talking about jury so much that I was like, oh, okay, they're called the judges. But she was able to establish herself really well in the game. And so for that reason, I have respect for her, but I feel like she's going to go very long, very, very far in this game.
I think so too. And I think for the house, that's a mistake. For Rachel, she's playing a great game. To keep her in is very dangerous. You were very close to Morgan, very close to Lauren. What do you think about Lauren kind of standing up to Rachel the episode before this and using that veto? Are you proud of her?
I respect Lauren's game because she perceived me and Vince as her closest two. And so I realized after the fact she had a final 2 with Vince. I had no idea in the house, of course. And so when she lost me, I've had the feeling that that could have potentially happened because it's like she just lost one of her closest allies. And then the next closest, she could be losing this week as well. So I feel like Vince did a pretty good job in terms of like social game, being able to kind of conduct like, hey, you need to keep me in this game. And so for that reason, I respect your game 100%. And so what was the other part of that question? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying, because you were close with Lauren and Morgan, just like watching from the show. We don't watch the live feeds. But Lauren, I thought, was very intimidated by Rachel. And then she did use that veto. And then the second part of that was, what were your thoughts when Morgan didn't she tell Lauren that she had that power to try to take herself off the block?
Yeah.
Did you watch that? And what were your thoughts on that?
Look, Twitter updated me nonstop about all of that stuff. Twitter has, a way of getting to me. And it was legitimately at my time, it was like 1:30 in the morning. I'm about to go to sleep. All of a sudden I see that and I'm like, what the heck is going on now? But after the fact, I respect the game move from Morgan because she's trying to stay in the house. And the way that she was trying to align herself with Lauren at that point, being like, Zach was going to use this for like the both of us. He wanted us to work together. Here's something. But obviously it didn't work in that moment. But, I respect both Lauren and Morgan's social games. And like the wall comp's about to come up. They're my 2 options of winning HOH. I think they have the best chance out of anyone in this cast. We'll see what happens.
Who do you think is going to win the next HOH?
It's wall comp. That's all I know. And like I already said, I think it is going to be Lauren or Morgan. I think it's somebody that is slim, more athletic, is able to kind of last on that wall. I mean, you guys know it more than anybody else. I mean, it is a mental grind up there. I can't speak on it, but that's what everyone keeps telling me.
Dude, I'm telling you that, like, guy, I don't know how big you are. You look like a big guy. I'm like 5'11", 200 pounds. Yeah. But it's when your shoulders go out, and it is more built for smaller type bodies. So I think you're right. Morgan is a athlete. She's a track runner.
I think Morgan
Lauren's tiny, but you never know who's going to win that competition. It kind of balances things out. But like guys like you, Keanu, I really don't think they last long up there. So I don't know who's going to win.
You know what I meant to ask you in the opening of this? Were you a fan of Big Brother before, or did you not even know Big Brother and had to watch seasons of Big Brother before you were going to be on? Because I had to do that. I was scouted. I was 22 and I didn't even know the game. Yeah. And I went in the house being like, okay, wait, HOH? That means head of household.
Look, like I said, I was recruited to the show. I'm not, I'm not afraid to say that. It's one of those things where, obviously I watched the most recent season and I had a feeling that Blockbuster, or like I think it was called the AI Arena last year, it was coming back, and so when they announced that, I'm like, thank God I watched the most recent season. And then I also watched season 16 as well, because they said it was such an iconic season. And so, when I have like Zach in season 16 crashing out, I'm like, this is incredible, And so those were the 2 seasons that I watched leading up to the show. And I was recruited for the show.
That's awesome.
So do you have any regrets? Because you played it like class act. I'm sure you wanted to stay longer, but is there anything that you look back on? Because we both played twice. And there's always things like, man, I wish I could have done different.
But you can't do that.
You can't do that, but it happens to everybody.
Look, I think there are 2 things. The first thing is when I won the first competition and I won the $10,000, they announced it to everybody, right? And so I was going to come in there and be, a bit more cutthroat, like, try and, be a little bit more on edge. However, when you do that and you win the $10,000, it's like my game had to change to be more of, laid back, not playing as much, because everyone that week 1, even though I had immunity, they're like, oh, Zach, if you were available, you would automatically be on the block. I'm like, well, thanks guys. That makes me feel really great about my situation. Right. And so I had to like make some type of adjustment there. The second thing is like, look, if I had known that Vince had thrown my name under the bus in the Adrian vote to the other side, the minority vote, I would have used the power. Let's be real, because I wouldn't have realized, like, I didn't know for a fact that that was the case. I knew that when I was in the house, my relationships with Keanu, Katherine, and Riley and Kelly, like they all changed after that vote. And it was a little bit tough trying to interact with them in terms of game. And so if I had known that Vince had thrown my name under the bus, I would have used the power, because at that point you're kind of questioning who your true final 2 is, your final 3s are, right? And so those were probably the 2 different scenarios that it could have gone different for me. But look, like I said, hindsight's always 20/20. I am still happy with how I played, and I don't regret anything at all. It was still an fantastic experience.
To record straight, you got to keep that 10 grand, right?
For sure. I was able to keep.
Oh, good. Good for you.
So we're going to take some questions, because I have a million more questions from you, but we have so many people wanting to ask you questions. So let's pop up a couple. Okay. But while we're doing that, would you do another game show? Would you do something like MTV Challenge or something like that? Because I'm a fan of that as well, and I think you'd be perfect for
you
that.
Have to do that.
I would look if I would be honored for any other opportunity. I love these shows. I actually grew up watching Survivor, and that's what I fell in love with in the first place. But like, look, Amazing Race. I just finished talking with Tucker. He said it was an amazing experience. He's on this most recent season. So even like the challenge, anything like that, like I would be open to. I would love another opportunity. So yeah, I'm very much so open to it.
Zach, would you do a dating show?
So
Love Island.
Well,
or something like that.
Okay, so the other weekend I wasn't feeling good, and I never watched dating shows, and I watched The Perfect Match. It's Nick Lachey hosts it, and it's like people around your age. I mean, they go for it, and everybody's like just very skimpy, making out and everything. You like fit. You're like built. You're a nice looking guy. I could totally see you on The Perfect Match.
Well, I appreciate those kind words. I will say this, like I've had opportunities with dating shows, and my mom, each time, she's really struggled with it. Like I am a pastor's kid, she's full Filipino, she's Catholic as well. And so she kind of like struggles with the fact of like potentially a dating show. But I will say this though, like I'm rooting for Lauren. I will say once she gets off the show, I do want to go see her. And she is my number 1 priority. Like I'm rooting for her. I want to see where it goes, if it ever does go anywhere. But yeah, that's kind of my main focus right now. Who
do you think I know things change every week to week, minute to minute in the Big Brother house. Who's in the best position, do you think, right now before this HOH?
Before the HOH.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we don't like to do spoilers on here. I don't even know if it's over yet, technically. But if you know, don't say it. But who's in the best position right now?
Okay, so after watching the live Ava was very iffy on where she wanted to vote, right? I would have said like Will and Ava. If word gets out that Ava flipped, she could have like one side of the house like against her. However, I don't think Ava would go home. I feel like whoever goes up against her, especially when I left, it felt like nobody wanted to vote out Ava. And so I would say Will is in probably the best situation right now because it feels like he's not really perceived as a threat. And so if he's able to win some type of HOH, something when you kind of get to jury and those numbers really dwindle down, he is so great at speaking to the group and he has a fantastic story. If he gets to that final 2, I feel like he has a really great chance to win.
Oh,
I also will say this.
I
will also say this, Vince, like I know a lot of people may be frustrated with his game, but I mean, if he's able to kind of hold on, you know, he could say that he was able to use people to get to where he's at. So it really just depends on who's in the jury and how they feel about them. But I feel like Will and Vince, they've got a pretty good chance right now.
Yeah, I think just from watching and being on the show and stuff, the two best people that are playing the hardest, and listen, everyone has different games and different ways of playing, but the people that are playing everybody manipulating are Rachel and Vince. They're playing really old school Big Brother and kind of yesing everybody, but they're making their moves. They're playing chess. Everyone else is playing checkers. To me.
Yeah, no, I like I said, if I was in jury and Rachel got to the final 2, I don't know if anyone would have a better speech than her. And so if she got to the final 2, she could say, hey, you guys wanted to vote me out week 1. I'm here. What do you guys have to say? I would be sitting there being like, that's really tough to go up against, right? So she would probably have my vote just for that reason alone. And of course, she just won HOH too. So she has like somewhat of a resume, also getting out somebody like Riley too.
All right, let's see if we can get some questions up from the audience. Ian, are we ready for some of those that we could pop on the screen here? Otherwise, we're going to take all of Zach's time without the audience jumping in. There we go.
Does Zach think Rachel can get jury votes? This is funny. If she makes it to the end, Carol.
Look, I will say this. Some people, I kind of mentioned to Mickey and Morgan when I was in there, I was like, hey, if Rachel makes it to the end, she's probably going to have my vote. And they were a little bit like, wait, what? Really? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you think about this from a neutral standpoint, everybody, like I said, everybody wanted her out week 1 and she just won HOH. And now all of a sudden she has a resume to really build off of. I mean, I really do think that she could have the votes. Of course, it depends who ends up in jury. But yeah, like from a neutral standpoint, she would definitely have my vote at this point in time.
Let's pop up another question. I mean, if she makes it to the end, it's kind of undeniable.
I mean, I would think everybody would, but some people out of spite might be like, listen, no, you've already won before. We're not going to vote for you.
All right, pop that one up.
Do you think Vince can bounce back from voting Riley out?
Look, he's going to have to do a lot of damage control, but we've already seen him do it in the past, right? And so if anybody can get out of this situation, it's Vince, in my opinion. But however, I don't know if he can't do it again, he's going to have to really draw that line and really stick with one side. And so I would say he's going to be on the hot seat, but I mean, we're going to see what happens on live feeds. I can't really give you a straightforward answer. I know if anyone can do it though, Vince is the one to do it. So we'll see.
So where does Katherine lie? This is interesting now without Riley. Where do you think she goes?
I
mean, Lauren, right?
I think they have a final 2 together, right? And so it's going to be those two. I feel like they could be a block together. And if they're able to really kind of maneuver through this part of the game and find somebody to really team up, the best case scenario for Katherine, in my opinion, her or Lauren wins wall comp, and they do exactly what Rachel just did this past week. They're able to gather numbers and kind of like work together to form some type of bond and go from there. I think Katherine, though, like she is in a pretty good position now because the threat when I was in there is that both Riley and Katherine are going to be on the block together, right? And so now that she no longer has her number 1 in the house, she could really do some damage.
All right, let's take 1 or 2 more questions for Zach. Yeah.
Zach, who would you have put up if you were still in the game and won HOH?
Okay, so do you guys want me to answer this like the perception that I still had in the house, or
No, now, because when you're in the house, listen, we know, like the audience doesn't know. When you're in there, you're trusting your gut. And then as time goes on, things start to blur. And then you're questioning yourself, you're triple questioning yourself, you're going back to your first thing. So we know how it is being in there. Being outside, what's your answer now?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. I haven't thought about that in a minute, but I will say this, like, oh man, because like when I left and like what they told me right beforehand, I was about to kind of branch off from the melting pot and like team up with somebody like a Keanu. He had like a conversation right before live stream started last Thursday. He said, Zach, like, we're going to have only 4 guys left in the house. Now it's 3, but we're only going to have 4 guys left in the house. We got to team up together. Kelly feels like she's at the bottom of where like the totem pole is with the girls. We may have to form some type of some alliance, right? And so that would have been somebody that I was going to put on the block. If that changed, I mean, look, Ava put me up, so she was probably going to be up if I'm HOH, just for the sake of she put me up. I probably would have put Katherine up as well because she told me since day one that she didn't trust me, and I'm like, that's fine. I respect you just letting me know. And then, oh my gosh, this is tough. I probably would have put 3. I probably would have put Kelly up just for the sake of she didn't trust me after the Adrian vote. I could kind of feel that as well. That's probably the 3. I wish I had M&Ms here because that's what they do the entire time in the house. I wish I had M&Ms to kind of like figure out the groups again. But that's probably my 3. There'd probably be a 4th nom. I don't know the 4th nom right now.
But see, you're still playing the game in your head. Trust me, it takes a minute to decompress. Right? It definitely does. But you didn't even mention Rachel in those things, and she's the one running away with this game.
She probably, like, if there was a 4th nom, and let's say I'm still with the melting pot, let's say Vince and I survived, and it was Morgan and Mickey and all 4 of us together, she would have been my 4th nom, even though she did gain so much more respect with me after that punishment. Here's the deal, though. If I had known that she won HOH the week after I got evicted, probably would have pivoted to more of me, Rachel, Lauren, and Ashley, right? Because she was HOH. So, you know, there's so much that happens in the Big Brother house. I still feel like I'm a part of the game. However, it's like keeping up with live feeds right now, like trying to live my life is a lot. I don't know how you guys do it because for me, it's a lot right now. So
has people, since you've been out, has people stopped you and they're like, hey, what's going on, Zach? I watch Big Brother.
Yeah, so I right when I got to the airport, like I was just kind of like immediately after I got evicted, I had like the Big Brother bag. They were looking at me weird. I was in like the security line and they stopped me and they're like, Zach, like, what the heck, bro? And then it was that situation. And then I play pickleball with a great community over here where I live. And so there was a lot more people that joined our games after the fact because they're like, they knew me after that. So it was a really cool experience. Yeah.
You're going to have so many opportunities, and I hope you get every single one of them. Let's take another question.
Yeah.
Who would Zach take to the final 2 if he was still in the house?
Ooh, you gotta make a choice. It's hypothetical, buddy.
It is hypothetical. It is hypothetical. Look, I know way more now, right? And so for that reason, I would not take Vince to the final 2 because of how many hands he has, like playing in all the different pots, right? It would come down to Lauren or Morgan, and it would basically it would be based off of what happened after I told Morgan about my power, right? If she had kind of spread that along, I knew I wouldn't be able to trust her. I would take Lauren. But it genuinely comes down to like those final 2 if I was still in the house. So that's probably my answer. I can't give you a definitive answer.
Yeah, no, here I got one question that I wrote down that I forgot to ask, but it's going back like what ifs, and I hate to put what ifs in your head, but what if Katherine would have took that $5,000? Because if I was in there, I don't know. I would have been like, watching again from the couch, I'm like, I would have took that $5,000 if I were Katherine because I think I'm pretty safe. I didn't know that they would have put Riley back up on the block. If it was Vince was safe and it was you versus Keanu, do you think you would have survived that eviction?
Oh, if you're talking about the eviction, I do believe I would have survived that eviction, but that's my perception, right? I really felt like
I know
votes. I would have had Vince's vote as well. And so I felt like in that moment, I would have had Vince, Morgan, Mickey, Will as well, and then Lauren. So that's 5. Ava would have broke the tiebreaker. I'm not even thinking about anybody else in the house, but I felt like I would have had like 5 solid right there if it was against Keanu.
Isn't it crazy how things just change? Like Keanu was the #1 target each week, and he kept saving himself in the Blockbuster. And then now, I don't think he's on anybody's radar right now, right?
We teamed up with Rachel, and then today I actually watched that today, watching him walk back, and after a vote, I'm like, hey, Keanu's not in trouble anymore. Because my kids love Keanu because they think he's Maui.
From Moana.
Yeah, I love that.
They're like, oh my God, that's our guy. So they love Keanu. So they're voting for him. So he's playing a really, really strong game. What do you think his chances are moving forward?
Look, I think so the week that my final week in there, it felt like his tone changed in terms of a social game. Week 1, week 2, he sat me down and was like, Zach, we have a 10-man alliance. You're going to be a part of it, and you're going to run with it. And I was like, okay, I've got no say in this whatsoever, right? And so I respect him as a person. It feels like, obviously, he is the comp beast of the season right now, and he's going to have more opportunities. I respect him so much for that. And it feels like, especially that last week when he did have the punishment where he had the butler butt and he had to make everybody food, it felt like his tone changed entirely. It felt like he was really vibing with the rest of the house guests. And it was after that whole crash out that he had with Ava. He actually, I don't think it was shown, he apologized to literally every single person in the house for his behavior in that. He's like, that's not who I am as a person. That's not who I want to be shown as on TV. And I was like, dude, Keanu, like, I give you more props because you're able to do that. I feel like people, if they're able to come out and apologize for stuff that they, feel like was wrong, I respect them more for it. So it felt like the shift for him changed my final week in there. And now he made a final 2 with Rachel called the Frenemies. So that is crazy. That's another final 2 where I'm like, that would be an insane final 2 just to hear both of their speeches as well. So I think he does have a good shot. Obviously, he wasn't on the block this week. Then again, it comes down to whoever wins HOH. Things change on a dime. So,
but he was in all the comps. He's so calm.
Yeah,
and I think that's why he's done so well.
His social game might need some work, but he's working on that, like you just said. His athletic game, he's crushing. But Zach, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Maybe take one more question, and then we got to let you go, man.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, if you could get a second, I think it's chance on BB, would you try it again?
100%. I would if they give me the opportunity. I will tell CBS, I will use a power, not be as selfless, just to get that opportunity, just to let them know. But look, hindsight's 2020. If I get the opportunity to play again, I would be honored. I know so many people out there want to have that chance. And so it's like, if I get that opportunity, great. If not, then it is what it is. Like, I give all the glory to God 100%. And so, yeah.
Zach, listen, you're a class act. We got to let you go.
Okay.
We got to let you go. But listen, I'm sure this is not the last we're going to see of you. You're a family guy. Glory to God, like you just said. We're going to see you on Amazing Race. I could guess where you started. I'm going to just say Survivor. I'm just going to put that out there.
I was about to say, you're going to be the first crossover.
Listen, it's not the first time it happened. It happened over many, many years, and you just ended up on Big Brother. But this isn't the last we're going to see of you. You got a bright future, my man. Your family should be proud. You should be proud. And thank you so much what you did for my kids before this and what you did for us right now.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys again for the opportunity. You guys are fantastic. And it's so much fun talking about this stuff. I'm having a great time. So thank you again.
All right, buddy. We'll have you back if you got the time later on in the season, and all your answers that you just answered now will probably change.
Of course. Awesome.
Have a great night. I got to put my kids to bed.
That's fair enough. Awesome. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Later, buddy. Thank you so much.
Zach.
Appreciate you. All right, man. That was really, really sweet.
I want to be friends.
I want to be like, end this and be like, hey, Zach, you want to have a beer? He's like, no, thanks. I got to do some push-ups.
I think he'd get along in the cul-de-sac.
Zach could hang?
Yeah, I think Zach can hang.
I'd be a little jealous. I'd
Why?
be like, what do you mean? He's a good-looking, young, handsome man.
All you guys are.
Not like that.
Well,
We're getting old. We're getting up
We
there.
are getting older.
We're getting up there. But yes, it's just funny talking to somebody like I could just feel like it really does take a minute to decompress when you get out of there. And he's handling it super well, and enjoying all the accolades.
He'll go far. He'll go places.
You just got to keep your head up. I hope you guys like that. Well, we could take a couple questions as well if you guys have some for us, if you want, while we wind.
We
this
can't
thing
go
down.
too late, you guys, because I have to get the kids to bed. We got
about 5 more minutes.
We got to get up at like 6:30 tomorrow. Do either of you remember how long you stayed on the wall during the competition dancing in the Midwest? Is that the ski one?
My shoulders were like completely shot.
I was horrible at those
Yeah,
competitions.
I don't know. I don't remember who won. It was so funny. We were watching the veto. I'm like, I won one of those OTEV vetoes, but I don't know who won the second one when we were on.
Anything.
Well, listen, that's a different game. That's a different game. You played a different game. You don't have to win everything to win.
The one with the ski, the wall, those are hard. Those are super hard. And as soon as I start feeling aching, I drop.
See, I tried to tough it out, but my shoulders were really
But I
hurt.
always knew other people were bigger targets than me. I was always just on the block if you were on the block beside me, you were going home. You were the target.
But that's good.
How it was.
But that's not a bad strategy. That's not bad at all. But I have been.
Had a strategy.
This is. I mean, I don't know what you guys are seeing, and I know. Listen, I know you guys watch the live feeds. We do not watch the live feeds. We're just going off of what's on the show, and then what our people that we talk to, like Zach or other people. We're going off of that. I know there's a lot more game. They could only fill 3 hours a week after filming 24/7 for 7 days, so they could fit so much in. So I understand a lot of people out there have different ideas of who the people are out there. We're just strictly going off of what you're showing on the show.
Yeah.
Want to take one more and then we'll wrap this up?
Mm-hmm. Some people online were saying they think Riley threw the comp. I can't see why he would do that. What do you think?
You said that right off, but you didn't know. I didn't.
I don't really know. Well, okay. I did not see Mickey's ball. So I thought when he locked in, when Morgan locked in, I was like, wait, it's a tie. So what are they going to do if it's a tie? They're going to have to keep going. And then I was like, what is he doing? But then everybody started clapping and I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I saw Mickey
because the camera missed it. Yeah,
so maybe if he did throw it, maybe he thought he was safe. I don't think he threw it.
No, I don't think he threw it either.
But why would he lock in when him and Morgan have the same number?
Again, we'll wrap up with this. A lot of those vetoes and whatever Keanu had to win, the whole time while we're watching, just like you guys, I'm sitting there, I go, the number one thing you have to be in those competitions is calm. And I'm kind of giving myself my own advice because when I had that clown shoe for people that go all the way back to season 11, I was like very frantic. And if you don't know, you had to jump in and find 2 clown shoes and a thing full of balls. And I was very frantic and throwing them out because I knew my life was on the line and I wasn't calm. And Keanu is very calm in those situations. I think all 3 of them were very nervous. Mickey put in a good score. I think Riley forgot about like, oh, we're tied. I'm going to lock in and then I get another shot at this, not knowing he had a minute left to grab his ball and get further than Mickey's. When you're on that live show, a lot of emotions take over. You have to control your heart rate, all those things. And when you're young, like me or whatever, those kids, you're not doing that. And I think Keanu got to that point because he was up so many times that he's like you saw him walking in that competition, very calm while everyone else is frantic. And I think that's part of his winning strategy.
But do you think if Mickey wouldn't have won and it was Riley, Mickey would have been the one going home?
If it's in butts where coconuts or something like that, I don't know how that saying goes.
All right. We're going to wrap it up on there. Okay. Thank you for tuning in to this live. Loved having Zach. Hopefully we can get some other evicted guests.
Yeah, it was great talking to Zach. I love getting the perspective of people right when they walk into the house. I'm sure Riley right now is a little bitter after that eviction. So he's probably hurting right now. But yeah, thank you again so much to Zach and so much to our team and so much to CBS for letting us have some guests and set that all up with us. So thank you guys for tuning in. It was a great episode. I love catching up. Really great season of Big Brother. We're going to do it again next Thursday, and then we'll see you guys on a regular podcast on Monday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sorry we didn't get to a lot of your questions, but We
And
love
then
you guys and we appreciate
Don't
it.
forget our regular podcast episodes are Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Thursdays are all Big Brother. Just had to put that
What a
out
pro.
there.
What a pro.
So
Julie Chen, watch out. Jordan
Thank
Lloyd's
you for
coming.
downloading, tagging your friends, subscribing.
All right,
Don't
get out of
forget
here.
all
All
that.
right, let's close it out.
Good night.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.